Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the 22nd or the 23rd episode of the Temple Podcast. Today, I am joined by... Do you call yourself 1ukeyboy or 1ukeyboy? Which one's the way to go?
Or just Lukey.
Yeah, there
I
you
tried
go.
to get rid of the boy ages ago, but someone stole my Twitter at 1ukey, so
That
just have to
is...
stay like this.
It's pure chaos out there on Twitter, I've heard. People just taking names left, right, and center. That's why I've got a CS after mine, just purely because everybody else has stolen the Zash, apparently. So, well, the more you know, I guess. Well, as an introduction, Lukey, right now you're on Paradox. You recently played the Katowice quals, and you've been in MDL as well. So, how are you, man?
Yeah, not too bad. I've had my pizza for lunch, so I'm filled up, good to go.
Solid. Nice. Pizza for lunch. What kind of pizza you have?
So peri peri chicken.
Ooh.
It was a little bit spicy. I couldn't finish it.
Well, you know us whites. Can't handle the spice. So, let's get into it then. So, you've been on Paradox for... How long now have you been on Paradox for? That Paradox lineup?
I'd say since I started trialing them, probably be like a month or 2 months now. Time kind of just blended in together.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, not very long.
Time flies when you're having fun. And
So,
who right now for the Paradox lineup is in-game leading?
that would be me.
Oh, you are. Dude, I have a really
I'm the IGL.
insane track record for just picking IGLs, just totally out of luck. It's pretty solid.
Oh really?
Yeah,
I thought
yeah.
you were doing it on purpose. I thought you kind of.
Well, I had a guess. It was either going to be you or there was one other person. I don't really know how I get these guesses. I said it was either going to be you or Herbs, because I know Herbs has a whole bunch of experience. So I was like, it's either going to be you or Herbs, just purely off off experience for him. But so in this Paradox lineup, then you've got some pretty solid players. Yourself, Badonka, Equal, or Luke. I guess that's going to get real complicated when there's two of yous in there, and then Herbs.
Yeah.
And how's the lineup been then recently?
I'd say it's been pretty good. I'd say we're probably doing as well as I thought we would.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, still a lot of room for improvement, but I think we've had some pretty good showings here and there.
Yeah.
So probably better than what I expected, to be honest, in terms of the opportunities we've gotten so far and where we'd be at with only a month and a half, 2 months of me being in this team.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of came in and we've shuffled a lot around. We're playing very different to how this team used to play when they had Teal. So there's been a pretty big adjustment period, and we're still adjusting, I think, in my opinion.
Fair enough.
Bit. But yeah, I think we're doing pretty well.
What do you think are the main goals that you're working towards then with this lineup?
When I joined, I think our main goal is pretty much to be third, fourth best in Australia, around that mark, and just consistently being able to compete with Renegades, Order, Ground Zero, Genuine, all those type of teams. That was kind of the goal that we set for ourselves, just be competitive at the top end of Australia, really.
Mm-hmm. And you said you did a lot of role switching around, as in or a lot of switching around, you said. So are you talking about roles there or sites that players play on? What kind of changes did you make when you came into the lineup?
I think it's been a bit of everything. I'm not too sure. I'm pretty sure we've switched roles. I don't really know what this team was doing before I came in.
Oh, right. Okay.
But I know that whilst I've been here, we've had people go from lurker to entry to lurker. Eco's always AWP'd. But yeah, it's going to be rifler players that have switched around, and there's been a fair bit of switching around of side players and stuff, because we're just still trying to feel out what's going to work best for us with me coming into the team. And trying to get everybody else comfortable as well with what they want to do.
Fair enough. So still kind of going through the different positions and different roles right now and trying to figure out what's going to be the right fit for you guys, I guess.
Yeah, pretty much. We're still changing things around. If something doesn't work for a while, then maybe we give it another go. And we've switched sides recently and all that type of stuff. Still just feeling it out.
Mm-hmm. And do you have I guess a specific sort of style that you would consider your in-game leading to be? Do you think you're a sort of more by the book guy, or are you kind of a bit more loose with your calling?
Yeah, no, I'm definitely by the book.
All right.
Which,
Okay.
this team is not by the book.
Okay.
I'm sure people watch them play with Teal and stuff. It feels very kind of on the go. That's how they were playing. But
Taming the bull.
Yeah, pretty much. I've never played in a team that's like so aggressive, I guess, or kind of individual.
Mm-hmm.
All my teams that I played in have kind of been, very structured, very low risk play. I think that's kind of the big difference is my teams used to be very low risk, whereas this team kind of feels like high risk. So as an RGO, I think I'm very different to what they're used to, and we're still kind of getting that adjustment period going. And I've had to adjust as well. So I've tried to, I don't want to bring in this style of being very extremely structured and not letting these players kind of use their individual talent, because they got a lot of individual talent on this team.
Yeah.
So I've made adjustments as well, and I'm still feeling out what the best way to go with this team is. I feel like we probably haven't got the balance correct just yet, but we're still working on that. So yeah.
Fair enough. Now, without going obviously into too much detail with I guess the specifics of what maps and what map pool you guys like to play, when you're in a lineup like yours where it's kind of still sort of coming together as a very aggressive lineup, when you're going up against teams like Genuine and Order and Renegades, when you vote into those, or when you go into that sort of veto stage, what maps are you trying to work your way towards?
It's a bit hard to say without giving too much away. But considering the short amount of time that we've had, I'm pretty comfortable with our map pool.
Mm-hmm.
We visited 6 out of the 7 maps, so assuming you always get to veto one map, so every other map, obviously there's maps that we're going to be more confident on, less confident. But going to best of 3 series or best of 1 series, we should always have kind of something down on whatever map we're playing.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of playing against these teams, I don't think we definitely don't have a map pool advantage against any of them at the moment. Obviously, Genuine have been together for ages. Ground Zero is their core 4 or whatever, have had more time than us as well. So I don't feel like we're at an advantage, but I think we've gotten ourselves to the point where it's not hugely uncomfortable for us no matter where we end up.
Mm-hmm. Fair enough. So quite sort of comfortable then on a lot of maps. I'd like to go through that Kato qual, because obviously that's why I contacted you, because I was very impressed again with the performance from you guys, and your ability to sort of take maps off some of these teams. So going into it first, obviously, was against Ground Zero. And that went all 3 maps, but you did take the win on that one. That was Dust 2 16-19. So that went into overtime there. So when you're, again, in this sort of lineup that's still relatively new, like you say, when you go into an overtime game, what kind of things go through your mind, I guess? Because I imagine there's not a huge amount of experience in overtime with that specific lineup.
Yeah. I think what was going through the team's mind at that point was that we just didn't want to lose to Ground Zero in a close match again, because we had played them in WSG online, best of 3, and I think on Dust 2 we lost 14-16, and then we played them in MDL before that as well, which was a bit more of a blow. But we kind of had this thing where we were just losing every close game we'd get into. So I think that
Right.
was going through our heads at that point as well.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I think everyone was pretty calm. I don't really remember. We got into like a pretty bad spot on the 30th round where we just had like pistol armor and we had to take a few risks. But once we won that, I think everybody was, we were all like calm and knowing that we can definitely take this map still. I don't think there were any nerves there or anything like that.
Just yeah. So keeping it steady then, I guess, and trying to focus on the game rather than the
Yeah,
idea of it, I guess.
yeah. And I've
Um,
always kind of like, I don't know why, if I was watching that game and I was like, I wanted Paradox to win like a spectator, I'd be very nervous
yeah.
about the situations that we were in. But when you're in there in the game, it doesn't really feel like that. You've just got, you know what you need to do
Hmm.
and like how to achieve that. And you've just kind of got that mindset going in. And the impact of the round or whatever the situation is doesn't really weigh in on you until after the game, for me anyway.
Hmm. So going into Mirage then, again, still a close-ish game. You did take the L on that one, but I wanted to ask you more specifically, when you get a win like that on Dust 2, does the momentum carry on at all to that next map, do you think? Is there any kind of sort of like, yes, we fucking won that map and now let's sort of bring that sort of high energy over towards the next one? Or do you think it's more of a hard reset in between those games?
Um, I mean, I think the momentum carries on. Once we got that first map off them, I think our spirits were definitely a lot higher.
Yeah.
Um, Maybe potentially too high, where it felt like these guys are shit. We just got to smash them. They're
Yeah,
not
yeah.
shit, but
Yeah.
I think kind of we got a bit over our heads for that map and thought we'd won it before we had.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, I think momentum definitely carries over from first map or whatnot.
Mhm. And then obviously the final one was the Inferno game. Now I believe this Inferno game, if I'm right in this assumption, which I believe I am, this Inferno game, this was the one where you took the was it the one where you took the win with Deagles? Am I right in that assumption on Inferno? The final round that you won was well, not the final, but the second final round you won was with the pistols.
Um, I can't remember, to be honest. I don't think so.
Yeah,
But I'm
Jesus,
not too sure.
I can't
Dust
remember.
to round 30, we had like a pistol force by um, that we won and just in overtime. But yeah, I
Right.
can't remember.
Yeah. Okay. Well, my memory's absolute gobshit. So,
I think
um,
Inferno second half, we would have had money the whole way through.
yeah. Well,
I
you
think
yeah. So you won 9 rounds on that second half there. Um, were you? Was there any concern going into that final map, or were you quite happy with the way that veto actually went there?
We were happy with the veto.
Hmm.
Um, there, there was a bit of concern, I guess, because Inferno we hadn't done as much stuff on as other maps, but we were still pretty calm and confident, and
Yeah.
we knew it wasn't like we. I don't know how to explain the mentality, but we knew the winner of this game would then go play Renegades,
Right.
whereas the loser would be playing Airborne. So, in terms of how much it meant to us, I think we just had a good mentality. Like,
Yeah.
we can just give it all to win. If we don't win, we get a low bracket, play Airborne. Yeah, winner plays Renegades anyway, which is like unlikely to win. So,
Right. Okay.
yeah, we weren't really freaking out at that point.
Fair enough. Um, so then, yeah, so let's talk about that then. That's a good segue because you go straight out of that win into the Paradox win. Or, sorry, not the Jesus Christ. The Renegades game, which was a 2-0. And it was the first map, Dust 2, was a bit of a stomping, I'm not going to lie. But Inferno, you did manage to pull that one a little bit closer, especially in that second half there, sort of evening out the rounds, 5 from 5. So obviously it's really difficult when you go into a game against Renegades because they do have so much more experience than most of you guys, and they're obviously the heavy favourites to win. So you did sort of touch on it before, but what's the kind of mentality that you go into a game against Renegades with?
I mean, it's always to win the game,
Yeah.
and I think given some time, there's definitely a world where we can start competing a bit better against Renegades.
Mm-hmm.
I think we just need more time together. I think right now they're probably better than us on most aspects of the game,
Mm-hmm.
but like we were still confident. And the good thing about playing Renegades is you can just give it your all, and there's not really any pressure. Like you lose 0-2, nobody's gonna flame
Yeah.
you or be like, "What the hell is going on with this team? Like, why are they playing so bad?" It's just Renegades things. It was a bit unfortunate as well with our match against Ground Zero. Like that whole best of three took 4 hours
Yeah.
or something like that. So I started playing that best of three at 5:30 p.m. or something. By the time we'd ended, it was 9:30. Like I hadn't had dinner. Uh, yeah, I don't know. It's just like not an ideal position to be in. You
Mm-hmm.
had to go then play Renegades straight away after 4 hours of playing CS, and it's just a bit.
Yeah.
I think you need a lot of stuff to go right to beat Renegades, and it's just a bit of a bad situation going into it, really.
Fair enough. It's yeah. It doesn't help, I guess, to already be on the back foot and then have to deal with the issues like that. Did
I
you?
think we were just like pretty burnt out from the Ground Zero best of three. Like I
Mm-hmm.
was definitely ready for bed. I think a few of my teammates were as well. And then you had to go play the best team in Australia straight away. They didn't give us much of a break at all. So
Yeah.
yeah, it was difficult. But
Not ideal.
I don't think that would have changed the result if we had like a bit more time or anything. But yeah.
Fair enough. Do you think you've gained anything then from that particular matchup? Did you? I guess it's obviously difficult because of the situation, but was there anything that sort of was pointed out to you by that lineup when you played them?
Yeah, I think you always gain something from losing. In terms of those specific maps, I can't really remember. Like
Mm-hmm.
I did the demo reviews, and I probably would have taken a few things away from it, just about our strategies, pushing and pulling the rotations, where we want them to go. Is everybody throwing the right util? Are our flashes working? All that type of stuff.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I can't really remember specifically from that best of three.
Fair enough. So then the final matchup was between you and Genuine, and this one was a pretty good series up until Train, of course. But the first two maps were very competitive. You actually managed to take Vertigo from them, which was their map pick. So
Yeah.
talk to me about that one. What the hell went on there? Were you guys were secretly pracking on Vertigo, or what's the go?
Um, Without giving too much away again, uh, I think the way that my team plays suits Vertigo very well.
Mm-hmm.
I think it can become a pretty individual map, with a lot of people kind of just making plays in certain areas, and it becomes very aim dually. So we had stuff on Vertigo, just so we don't go into it absolutely clueless. And I'd watched a few demos and whatnot, and maybe we scrimmed it a few times or not. But yeah, we didn't feel uncomfortable coming into Vertigo. I think they're probably the better team on Vertigo still, but we know how the map works pretty much.
Fair enough. Um, Speaking about that, then, how are you feeling right now with Vertigo, just in general in that map pool? Is it still? I haven't really talked to any players about the presence of it in the map pool, but does it still sort of irk you or at all, or are you? Is it sort of more fitting in now?
Um, I don't mind it. I think it's a different map, and I think it's got a lot of flaws. But yeah, I don't really mind it. I think there's some pretty cool stuff that you can do on Vertigo. The issue that I have is being in Australia. I think it's much harder to get scrims on it,
Yeah.
and then even if you do get scrims on it, like we just don't play enough tournaments, I guess, or like international tournaments or whatnot to play it consistently. I don't think we'd ever be able to play Vertigo in ESA MDL because it gets vetoed down to one map,
Yeah.
and a lot of teams won't have Vertigo as like their number one map. And most of the other times, like people just first veto it, So I don't think you get enough competitive experience on Vertigo to feel comfortable ever having it as like a pick.
Yeah.
Just because there's a lot of teams that don't play it in Australia. That's kind of my issue with it.
Fair
I'd
enough.
love to kind of grind it out and really get into like the deep end of it, but you just can't. I can't find enough scrims on it. And then even if you do get to that point, the chance of you playing it in a match, like if we were to pick it versus I don't know ground zero in the first round of Katowice or whatever, it would just get vetoed out. Like
Yeah.
after that, so maybe you get it once, and then people will know that you play Vertigo.
Yeah.
Not to go there. So that's
Fair
the
enough.
issue that I have with it.
It seems like it's sort of like you've got to almost take a risk, you know, because you can only really dry run on that map, and then I guess you could get really good at that and know where you need to be position wise and things like that. But again, it's so, like you said, that you can't really prac it against another team. So you're kind of rolling the dice whether or not this opponent has pracked that map as well, or you know maybe they know something that you don't. Like these kind of things, right? So it's.
I think there's a place for it, but it's just like even if you are the best team, like if you become the best team in Australia, you prac it real hard, put heaps of hours into it. How often are you going to get to play it in officials? Like you might be able to surprise a team once with it, which is good if you've got like a very important qualifier, maybe international qualifier or something that means a lot. But as soon as people see that, like you might not ever get to play it again.
Yeah. It's probably going to be mostly the BO3 sort of tournaments that you'd be able to get it in. And like you said, again, as soon as you get it in, if you're really good at it, people will be like, yeah, probably not going to play that against you, mate. Chill.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I guess you could get like really, really good on it, and then that could be your main pick. But again, because
I just don't think it's worth the time.
Fair enough.
To get like super good at it, considering how many opportunities you'll get to play. Maybe a team like Renegades would definitely benefit from that because they're playing international whatnots against other countries and stuff.
But with the amount of BO1s that you guys play, it's just not worth it. Yeah, fair enough.
It's not quite at that level where we're going to be playing other teams internationally and all that type of stuff. So we just kind of focus on the Australian tournaments and what.
So with this genuine sort of matchup then, what do you think were the main sort of takeaways from this one then? Because obviously that Vertigo map was a surprise. You played quite well on the Mirage one, but that was kind of snatched away there by Genuine, and then Train sort of fell apart there at the end. So what was the sort of main takeaways that you got from that one?
Yeah, Vertigo we were pretty happy with. It was. I think that's the first official we played on Vertigo, so it kind of seemed like the stuff we had practiced and played in scrims had worked all right there.
Yeah.
So we weren't too concerned about that. I can't remember too well, but Mirage, I think we had a really good start on the T side, and then we kind of let too many rounds go towards the later half of the T side, I think. But I think there's a few close rounds that could have gone our way, like 1v1s and whatnot, that we just lost out on. So we could have really excelled our T half, I think, and aimed for 11-4, 12-3, but they ended up taking the half 8-7, I think. And then our CT side was really poor. So we visited that and kind of talked about some changes and did some stuff. So hopefully that doesn't happen again.
Fair enough.
And Train, we just never got going. They started CT side, and once they got double orb on Humongous and Haybock, we just found it difficult to do anything really. We had a few things that we tried to do, none of it worked.
Yeah,
they're a very good train team, as we saw after when they beat Renegades on it, and I think they played it in they played it once when they went overseas and had a pretty good showing there as well. So yeah, I think we're just underprepared on Train. We were hoping to 2-0 them.
Again, without obviously disclosing the specifics, when you go up against a team like Genuine, are there specific maps that you look to move towards, or are you going into that veto with the mindset of I'll play them on anything?
I mean, you try and get an advantage wherever you can in the vetoes. but we're just still in a bit of a weird spot where we're kind of just focusing on ourselves
Fair
and
enough.
making sure first and foremost that we're comfortable with what we're playing. And you give it a bit of thought, but we just at that point didn't have the map pool strength, I guess, to get picky with where we were going.
Yeah. Okay, fair enough. So I did want to move on then to the West Egg sort of land finals, I guess, the grand finals that are coming up. That will be, well, it is a BO5, but they have a one map advantage on you guys.
Yeah.
So you are going into that one with, I guess, a disadvantage there coming in. But what are your thoughts sort of going into that BO5? Are you guys feeling confident moving into that one? Or is
I
it?
think it's going to be difficult. Obviously,
Mm-hmm.
the 1-0 map advantage to ground zero. I did ask them if they wanted to get rid of that. I asked Cooper Void, and he said that he's going to keep the one map advantage. He's not confident in playing us on a fair ground. But yeah, like I think we can definitely beat them even with that disadvantage. Obviously, we took them 2-1 in the Iron Katowice quals. They've been having troubles with their fifth as well. I think they've got somebody now, but they'll be a bit unstable.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think it'll be a good fight, and if we play our best and a couple of things go right, we can definitely win the qualifier there.
Fair enough. Is that the sort of? Would you say that you would be unhappy or displeased? I guess maybe a stronger version of that if it doesn't end up in a victory there. Is this the sort of point that you're aiming to be at right now, or do you still think that even if it's a close series, right, and maybe they just knock it out, you'll still be like, okay, well, we can operate off that, or is this one if we don't win it, I'm going to be pissed?
I'd be devastated if we lose it.
Okay.
To be honest, you don't get these opportunities often.
Fair enough.
At all for some people.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think the loser is definitely going to be pretty salty. Ground Zero is supposed to be playing in the APAC qual anyway. So if they lose this, they still get another chance through that, and they're supposed to be going somewhere internationally. I think that's all just been thrown into the air because of the coronavirus, but they've still got like another chance. But for us, this is our main focus. Like this is our one chance to qualify for something like this. So yeah, we've been prepping pretty hard for it, and like I'll be pretty devastated if we lose. But I like the Ground Zero guys as well. I want to win, but I'm glad that one of us will get the opportunity to go play at such a high level competition.
Fair enough. Well, I do wish the both of you guys the best of luck, and may the best man win, I guess, for that one.
Yeah, well, I still reckon they should scrap their one map advantage, but that's still in negotiations.
Fair enough. Well, yeah, I don't really know. What can I? I can't really. I don't really have much weight to leverage, unfortunately, for that one. Ground Zero, get rid of your map advantage, please. All right, listen, just flatten it out. Best of 5.
I think that would be fair. Right?
Online results don't mean anything. All right, we all know that everybody's an onliner, so it doesn't matter. Go to LAN, scream in each other's faces, and let's get a full BO5 going. All right, nobody needs that one map advantage. Let Vertigo through. Come on.
They know that if I was in their position, I'd be getting rid of the one map advantage.
Yeah,
so,
it's true.
Not reciprocated.
That's really just poor sportsmanship, I think, is a good way to put it, don't you think? Yeah, poor sportsmanship. All right, well, I wanted to go to the Dreamhack Open Lepziq, which happened over the weekend. It was a interesting tournament, I guess, to say the least. The group stages went quite well for the Renegades boys. They managed to make it out. I think they took a win over Cloud9 and then Virtus Pro, if I remember correctly. They came out. Let me tell you that they came out with 2 wins. So I'm fairly certain. I know they lost to
They
Big.
beat Cloud9, then they lost to Big, and then 2-0 to Cloud9 to get into the semi.
Yeah, right. Virtus Pro went out. I would too. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. So they beat Cloud9 in a BO1 and then a BO3. Then they made it into the semis against Mad Lions, which I think was probably the most impressive result at this tournament. Just purely because Mad Lions came out of their group untouched, essentially. So that was quite impressive just purely from them and their sort of standpoint. And Renegades were able to get that sort of 2-1 victory over the top of those guys. If I can pull up the actual match of that one, that would be rather nice. But I don't think it's going to allow me to do that easily, which is unfortunate. Yep, HLTV's giving me issues. Come on, boys. Here we go. Here we go. Bang. This will do. So, it was... Here we go. All right, I got it. All right, so it was Dust 2, Train, and then Nuke. So I did want to talk about this Dust 2 veto, right? Because I feel like... Now, obviously, I'll preface this with the fact that I am just a merely podcast and commentator, and I've never played professionally, so I guess what the hell do I know? But man, I was talking to some friends about this, but I just feel like this Dust 2 veto, as much as it's like, yeah, I'm happy you guys think you're really confident on that Dust 2 map, right? And I get it, and you guys do look good and you're getting wins on it. That's fair enough. But I feel like where it really comes to hurt them is in the grand final with Big. Just purely because, right, that's when it comes in at the worst time. Now, I talked to you about this before with the sort of momentum thing going on. So, again, in that grand final, the first map was Mirage because it was Big's pick first. Then it went into Renegade's pick of Dust 2. And then the final map was Inferno. Now, I don't know about you, but I really don't like that veto at all. As opposed to the veto against Mad Lions, which was Dust 2, Train, and Nuke, which, again, is like 3 maps that Renegades can play on. Right? So I thought, man, that veto's great. And then you went into Big, and the veto was like, Jesus Christ. You know? Mirage for Big, and then Inferno, the final map. Even if they do manage to get that win on Dust 2, Inferno is going to be a massive uphill battle for them against Big, because it is their, like, you know, it's Big's number 1 map, really. That comes to mind, I guess. It's the one that they've had the most success on at the biggest stages. So, I just thought that I guess, you know, Inferno getting through isn't the end of the world, but where my problem lies in it is Mirage is first, right? So it's their map pick. They're going to get the win off it. Or they might get the win off it, which has got to go through your head. And then the momentum is going to carry on to that next map. And that's Dust 2. Now, it's great that you're good on Dust 2, but if you're coming off a loss on the first map, and that team's going to be able to carry the momentum onto Dust 2, I don't know about you, but I think that Dust 2 is probably the best map to come into with momentum in terms of just being able to really push that with pure aim. Do you have any sort of opinion on that one?
Yeah, no, I definitely see where you're coming from. I think Renegades, though, are mentally strong enough, especially when you're playing at a big LAN in the grand final. Mm-hmm. I don't think they're going to Dust 2 feeling deflated or anything like that. I think momentum plays like a different part when you're at a big tournament. I think they'd still be kind of highly motivated, regardless of the first map result. It is a bit of a strange... I don't really know how to put it. Like, picking Dust 2 can be a bit weird just because generally it plays out very defaulty, similar kind of styles.
Yeah.
Everybody kind of is trying to do the same thing, like early long control and I don't know. It's just all very similar.
Yeah.
So when you have it as your pick, I guess you want to be very well prepared which Renegades seem like they are. They've picked it a few times. I think, their issue with the vetoes right now is it seems like they veto Vertigo first map every time. So obviously they haven't touched Vertigo with their new roster with Hats coming in. And that probably puts them at a bit of a weakness because every team they play gets a free pick at any of the other maps. I don't really know what Big plays and whatnot, but I'm not too sure.
Yeah, I'm not like, obviously I'm not super like aware of the full map pool of Big, but I do agree with you in the fact that I feel like Dust 2 is a very default map, right? And that's where my issue with it is. It's not that, you feel comfortable on that map. That's great, and it's good that you are comfortable on that map because it's going to pop up a lot, right? In tournaments where you have BO3s, you're probably going to play a lot of Dust 2 because it's a map where pretty much everybody's comfortable on Dust 2, right? It's one of the first maps that if you start up a new team, all right, let's play Dust 2. Where are we playing on Dust 2? What's the go? That's the first one you lock down. So for me, I just feel like I'm happy with that being in the map pool, and that's really good because it can give you the third map, right? That's where I'd like to see Dust 2. The third map or the opponent's pick, right? If they're going to go into that one, that will allow you to sort of, get that final hurdle, get over the final hurdle, right? I just feel like they need a little bit more of a complex home map, I guess.
Yeah, potentially. I think it's hard as well. Like they picked it against Mad Lions and they've won there. I didn't get to watch that match, but they've definitely had some pretty good results on it. So I think it would be hard to go into the big game and decide after you've had all the success on the map to not pick it.
Fair enough.
And they beat Cloud9 as well on Dust 2 in their best of 3. So I could definitely see why they picked it. Maybe potentially in the future when they've got more time to practice with Hats, they'll start getting into other maps which they might have more of an advantage on. Being well structured. I think especially when you get to that level that they're playing at, where you're going to be playing against the Virtus Pros, the bigs, or even better than that, they're all going to be pretty comfortable on Dust 2 as well, which I think that's where the issue is.
Yeah.
In Australia, though, having Dust 2 as your pick as Renegades, you'll probably still win like that. You should be winning against all the other teams anyway, if that's your main map.
Obviously, locally, I don't have a problem with it. It's more the international side of things where it's like, But you actually brought up a good point there, which I guess I'm maybe overlooking, is the fact that obviously, this is still a really new lineup with Hats in it. And Dust 2, again, as I was saying before, is a pretty, common map to get down quite quickly. So that could have been one of the, reasons behind it. But man, I thought they looked really good on Nuke against Mad Lions. And when I saw that veto go through, I remember sitting there and watching the game and going, okay, they've won Dust 2. I don't even really care about this result on Train. They can win it on Train, but even if they don't, I just felt like there's no way you're going to lose on Nuke. They look so good on Nuke at the moment. Maybe there's something in the back of their minds going up against Big where they thought, not a good idea, because they did actually veto that one out themselves, which I thought was strange. But I guess, maybe they know something I don't. But
yeah, I mean, they probably do.
Yeah,
I didn't get to watch those semi-finals, grand finals, but I'm sure they didn't take it lightly. What they were going to veto and whatnot. So there would have been reasons behind all that. Yeah, I'm not too sure on Big's map pool either, but maybe they're good at Nuke. It looks like they beat them 16-8 in the group stage, so maybe they were a bit iffy about going back to that.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, well, so let's sort of wrap it then back on to you guys then, because I still think the Australian scene's been going through a sort of weird period, right, where we've been seeing a lot of the... Okay, let me try and make an analogy here, right? Because I have a complicated one, but I think it kind of works. So we've been seeing a lot of players in this Australian region at the moment who've been sort of, I guess, retiring or leaving, right? And I feel like we're getting a lot of players who are coming to that age where they have to make a decision, right? And if they're not at that top level, then it's got to be, I got to do something else. And that obviously comes down to a lot of the foundations that we have here in Australia in the grassroots situation, and how there isn't a lot of support for the people that are not, at the very top of Australia, right? And even for the people at the top of Australia, it's not exactly a crazy amount of support, right? But I think the analogy that I have is that it's almost like we're getting to a point where you see, this is going to be really weird, but what's going on in Japan right now, where they have a really weird population thing going on, where there's a whole bunch of old people that are all dying and nobody's having any kids. So it's this weird sort of situation where there's no future generation coming into it because they're all playing Fortnite, and they're all at such a young age where Counter-Strike maybe doesn't appeal so much because it's not a very flashy game, and they're not at the age where they go, oh, maybe this is the game I want to move into, right? But also we're getting a lot of our sort of more veteran players going, okay, I've got to move on. I've got to do something else because this isn't working at the moment. So I think that's, obviously it's a very optimistic way to look at it, or maybe it isn't. I don't know. But I just feel like that's the kind of period we're in right now where there's just a weird environment around the pro level of Counter-Strike and the new generations that are coming in. I would be interested to see if in a few years' time that sort of equals out again and we get a few more of these Fortnite kids that go, I'm sick of building, I want to shoot people in the head on Dust 2. And then you get, a little bit more of an influx in. But hey, I mean, do you have any sort of theory on that particular issue, or?
I guess the Counter-Strike community starting to having more kids.
Yeah.
Build them up into the scene. Nah, I definitely see where you're coming from, and obviously recently there's been a fair few people that have moved on. A lot of good players as well. I think it does get like that. You get to a point where, unless you're Renegades or I only hear whispers and stuff about salaries and whatnot, but I can't really comment on all that. But you get to a point where you're not making any money or enough money off of playing CSGO, and you start getting into your 20s and everyone's kind of looking at you like, what are you doing with your life?
Yeah.
Why are you sitting there playing video games, and what are you getting out of it? You're getting very little money or no money at all. You should be full-time working at this point, or you should be going to uni, or blah, 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 blah. I think that's probably like one of the main reasons why a lot of people have moved on, because it gets to a point where unless you're at that level where you can support yourself off of the money you're making or whatnot, you have to move on. You can't sit here every day for years trying to make it work. And it's just such a limited amount of people in Australia that get that opportunity to make it work full time. Like, I've had my parents telling me to go get a job and go make some money and whatnot, all of that stuff, and you can't really explain to them why you're not doing that yet and why you're putting in like so much time, so much effort into this game, and like they go like, oh, what do you have to show for it or whatnot? And well, nothing. It's I think a lot of people don't really understand the time and effort you've got to put in to get to the level of Renegades, and I don't know how much order are getting paid or whatnot. Maybe they can live off it. I assume they can. Very limited amount of people can do that, and to get to that point, you have to grind away for many hours with no or very little return.
Yeah, it's really an interlocked situation, because again, like you're saying, I feel like Counter-Strike is, especially in Australia, it's a young man's game, because there's not a lot of infrastructure around the sort of playing it at a professional level. Unless you're still in school, and you have a lot of free time, and your parents aren't sort of barking down your neck, then it's difficult to sort of justify putting as much time into it as what you need. And then I think that again sort of affects this another weird sort of situation we have going on, where there's not really a lot of, I guess, experience IGLs and sort of more support players with experience in the scene purely off the back of that, right? Where, playing roles like that is not going to get you straight into Order. It's not going to get you straight into Renegades. So right now, the Australian scene favours pure aim. Favours just insane skill. Because if you have insane skill, chances are you're going to be able to move up the line of teams much quicker, because people are going to go for that aimer over an in-game leader or a support player, somebody who has less of a flashy gameplay style, right? And because of that, you're not getting a lot of people who play those roles into very high experienced positions, at least not as quickly as the skill ceiling is. And so I feel like that's why a lot of those players end up dropping off, and you get this weird issue where we don't have a lot of leadership in Australia. Now that's, I think it's definitely gotten better over the last couple of years in terms of leadership. We've seen a couple more names sort of get put into the hat, but it's definitely a prevalent issue. And I think, again, it all sort of, harkens back to that initial situation where there's not a lot of support for people that are making the way up the list very slowly. So it becomes a really big issue coming around. And it's the reason why I look at it like that is purely because of you're seeing Counter-Strike right now reach numbers it's not reached before in a very, very long time, right? The player numbers are rising up like really, really high. They keep going up. It's looking really good on a full international level. We're starting to get a little bit more popular, but over here in Australia, it's kind of having maybe not the opposite effect, right? But like I said, it's going through a weird curve right now where you're seeing people drop off. So I just wanted to talk about it, obviously, because I don't know if you saw the Twitter thread going around where it always comes across as really negative. And I think that as much as there is a problem there, it's not as crazy and as dire as I think some people might be thinking it is. Everybody's always trying to find the solution, and I just feel like at this point there might not be one.
Yeah, no, it's a good topic to bring up. It's hard. I don't really know what's going on with the Australian scene anymore. I just don't know outside of the top teams or the MDL teams, like what is happening in those lower levels. Yeah, if there are players kind of coming up and whatnot. And just going back to what you're saying about teams picking up the younger players, I've just never. There are some really good younger players out there. But I just find it strange how, when a team is looking for a player, it's always the first people that come to mind are always the 16, 17-year-old, that have been fragging up Storm in like this weird team. Like, I don't want to use any team for an example, but this team that just isn't competing against like the top teams constantly, but they're just fragging really hard. And they always have people always talk about them, but people just never talk about the support players of that team or the IGLs or whatnot. And I think, a lot of support players, IGLs, just get left behind. And I remember when I was in, I guess you could call it the up-and-coming team, Legion Strikers, and can't really remember what happened, but I was playing with Mini and Void and a few other guys, and people would always try to poach them and try to take them out of my team, and I'd just be stuck there. And then eventually they moved on to somewhere, and then I joined another team, and then I can't remember what happened, but eventually I don't know, all their teams just seemed to die. Wherever they would go, these teams that pick up the mad fraggers just wouldn't work.
Yeah. So you just need more structure, and I think that because those players often get such a large jump, they don't really know or have any experience in that sort of higher level of play where running out on a Mirage with an AK with no flashbang isn't going to work as well as what it used to. You know, you're not going to be able to just run out there and dome the guy on top of ticket box and then spray down 2 guys jungle. Like, it doesn't really work the same way as it was back then. And I think that's why a lot of the times you might see talent sort of squandered, where, you know, maybe they could have been built into something quite good, but there wasn't really any infrastructure to build those players. And that's why I put so much value on, you know, in-game leaders and experienced players in these support roles, where those guys, I feel like, you know, guys like yourself and guys like, you know, Swede in other teams and lineups like that, where, and even Smooth Crim to a certain extent, obviously not in-game leading right now for Airborne, but has in the past. Guys like that have the experience playing against these top teams, they are important, because they're going to be the ones that will build players like Luke, you know, or Ecor, right? So much potential there, but if he doesn't have the right guidance, you know, it's very easy that he could just go, you know what, this isn't working for me. I'm not on Renegades at the moment, so it's not worth it anymore. And then we lose a really good player, you know? So it's a complicated issue. But I think that's, like I said, I don't think there's a specific solution for it right now. And I think people just need to understand that this is the environment that we're in. And even when I talked to, you know, Elfish Guy last year, it's a very similar, or it's a similar sort of thing that most people suggest, which is the fact that Australia is a very big place. There's not a lot of people. Until there's some crazy boom, right, which could happen at any point. God knows what, you know, everybody thought it was going to be Fortnite that did it, and don't get me wrong, it's definitely put in a whole bunch of new people, and I have a feeling that Fortnite boom will probably impact the Counter-Strike scene in Australia a little bit later on. I think it will have a delayed effect. So I think that boom's done really well. I think it's going to come down a little bit, and then those players that were all those new kids that were playing those games will discover this one, and it will move into that one, right? So I think right now we're in that sort of lower period. So, you know, don't worry. It's not, listen, it sucks when you lose great players and when we're losing players from the top teams, but I don't think it's a really big sign for concern.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. We probably do need more younger players coming up and like being involved in the game. I think obviously more people that get involved in the games, of the leagues and whatever, the more money that goes into the scene, and eventually that flows up to the top. But there is a bit of an issue right now that teams top of Australia, you're limited time.
Yeah,
you can't stay here forever and do it. And that's why I think many people have moved on, and you just have to. And you've even seen like Genuine or team. They can't even find an org. And they're out here in the grand final of IM Katowice, taking a map of Renegades, beating all the other teams, beating Order, beating us, beating Urbana, I think, and putting in really good results. Just went overseas, and as far as I know, they still can't find an org.
Yeah.
So it's a bit of a dire.
Yeah. Well, I have a Discord full of mates that want to pick them up. So I don't think they have any money, so I don't really know if that's going to work out. But we go into the Gamers, so you know, it's a pretty good org, I'd say.
Look out for there.
Yeah, it's pretty solid.
I don't really know what needs to change to be able to support more teams in Australia at the top, but it's just going to keep happening where players are going to run out of time.
Yeah,
and have to get on with other stuff. But that's just the reality.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting sort of topic when it comes to newer players, because I feel like you said before, because there's not really a lot of spotlight on newer players coming up, you almost have to, you have to find a team, or you have to find basically 5 people, right, or 4 other people that are of equal skill level and all willing to commit to the game, and then work your way through ESEA and try to get into MDL, right? And then once you're in MDL, or once you're in that top level of ESEA Open, that's sort of when eyes sort of start to, spot you and see on you. So I think that that's the kind of weird situation where you have to find 5, and it's very rare that you're going to find one person, how many people do we have in the Australian scene that are looking down there at ESEA Open just looking for players? Do you know what I mean? Like it's nobody really scouts in the scene. So
the pathway to the top used to be. I'm honestly not too sure what it's like these days, but it used to be very clear in that you had your CGA, your CGM, and then like CGI, CGP, or whatever.
Yeah.
You just start in CGA, and that's what my team did, Legion. We started in CGA, finished top 4 or something, got the spot into CGM. We then won CGM. Then Cybergamer fucked us over, and we didn't get to play CGI. We played CGM again or something.
Classic.
But the pathway to the top, you could see it, and you could feel yourself
making your way
moving up those steps. Yeah. Whereas now, I don't even know if if CGM exists at all. Or like I've had a look at it now and then, and you're like, what the hell is going on here? And even CGI, you recognize a few teams, but not really. And then they'll just die. And I don't know. I think the pathway to the top is very different to how it used to be, and it kind of favors the players that are able to get into FPL, FPLC even, and like grind these plug-in systems. And that's how you get noticed, rather than being a part of a team and moving yourself up with that team.
Yeah, it's definitely put a lot more weight on those pugging games, especially FPLC. Like you said, but like, it's not as clear as what it used to be. I definitely remember all the way, even not too long ago. Actually, I don't even know, to be honest. I'm so old. But when I started, like you, it was very clear. You had the CGA, CGM, CGI, CGP, right? And it was a very like, I knew players and teams in every one of those leagues, right? And you go, oh, they look quite good. I wonder if they'll make it into the next bracket next season. You know what I mean? Like it was a very, even for people like myself who were just commentating on that, I think you used to be a lot more exposed to some of the newer players coming up, whereas now it's kind of a giant shadow over that whole area. So
it used to be like covered pretty well. CG, even CGA.
Yeah.
Like, the final games would be streamed. There'd be plenty of viewers, people typing in the chat.
Yeah.
CGM, and I remember being in CGA, and I'd watch a CGM, and you'd think, oh, I want to be like these guys. Like looking back on it, they're probably terrible. But you just see that next division, and everyone's kind of watching it, and it's interesting. There's storylines behind it. But now I have no idea. I couldn't tell you like one team CGI. I don't even know if it exists or not.
Yeah. Yeah, it's difficult now. I think the another issue alongside that one is, which we're seeing quite a lot, and I don't know maybe if this is such a public issue in terms of like on Twitter and things like this, because I don't really remember seeing it too much on Twitter, which is usually how the larger public in the Australian scene kind of gets switched on to certain things. But I know in quite a few like Discords and things like that, you're seeing issues when it comes to tournaments or event organizers and communication to lower teams. And I think that it's a misconception that if you're a tournament organizer and you put out an event, nobody's going to sign up for it. And I just feel like that's such a really disingenuous thing to say when you are an org that's going to put out maybe 2 notices, right? In the last, you have a 3-month period and you put out 2 announcements. Do you know what I mean? Like, if you're not going to put the effort into advertising it to players, you're not going to get anybody to join, right? You have to understand that. Yeah, okay, maybe you have a point in the fact that we don't have loads of players just scouring the internet trying to find a tournament to fucking join, but there's still a whole bunch of people there that if you advertise it enough, you are going to get quite a lot of people to sign up, right? It's just about communicating to the scene that you have a tournament coming up, and, let's say, invitations or the qualifiers will open at this on this date here. Do a lot of advertisements so that when you get to that date, everybody's there, they're at the door, they're ready to sign up, right?
Yeah. And get a Discord going as well.
Exactly.
Like, register, get their captain into the Discord, and then you've got, your sources there. If you need to put anything out, then you can just directly send it there.
Yeah.
Not enough tournament organizers do that. And like you saw that with WSG when there was like how many teams in the APAC, like heaps of teams in the APAC final, which is like one step before the World Finals. So yeah, it was like to get to one step before the World Finals, and then for the World Final qualifier, it was just us in Ground Zero and like a couple of other teams that we heard of before, because they just haven't put, like, nobody knows that this stuff's going on. Like, I don't think I knew until the night before or the morning or something.
Yeah, it's
I
crazy.
just got the message that we're playing. So yeah, I think tournament organisers could do a better job of getting teams involved, and especially at the lower levels when maybe these players aren't on Twitter, following the whole scene.
Yeah.
They're just kind of more a casual team. Like, make a post on Cybergamer or whatnot, and you probably get a fair few teams there.
Yeah, I'd like to see a lot more usage of that, the Oceanic Counter-Strike Reddit as well, or the Oceanic Esports Reddit. I think I really don't remember off the top of my heart who runs that, but I think that has quite a lot of potential to be quite useful for tournament organizers. Obviously, I'm not really sure how popular it is in, like, how many players in that lower region are using that. I think it probably should be advertised quite a lot more to people. There is a Reddit there, a subreddit there for this specific reason, right? And I think if we have a little bit more community involvement in that will help out quite a lot for tournament organizers. But also, guys, if you want to invite teams that are in that sort of, top 10, top 15 level, reach out to people, right? DM people on Twitter. DM me on Twitter, for fuck's sake. All right? If you want to talk to somebody, just DM me on fucking Twitter and I will send them a message. If it's that fucking difficult, do you know what I mean? Like, you've got to reach out to these people and put a little bit more effort in advertising these things to these players. And then once you do that, you're going to get a much bigger turnout. Don't complain when you don't do any work for it. If you're not going to...
There's no reason why WSG couldn't send a message to, to Renegades, Order, Avant, whoever else, top, and send a DM to literally just if you don't know the players, to their organization's pages.
Yeah.
It'll eventually get through to them.
Yeah.
So at minimum, if you're going to do a tournament, you should be getting the top 10 teams in Australia and trying to either get a confirmation if they can play or they can't play, or, what dates you need to do and whatnot. But don't think that happens.
Even if it's like they're probably not going to accept it, whatever, just ask. Just ask. Honestly, even if you think in your mind there's no way this team is going to want to play in this tournament, just ask them. Because I guarantee you'd be surprised. You'd be quite surprised by whether or not a team will turn up to this event. If you've got a prize pool there, I can guarantee you, mate, there's a chance that they're going to want to play in it, right? So reach out to these players, make the effort, and then once you've done that and you've put out that effort and you've really, done the best you can do, then you can complain about how there's no teams joining your tournament when you've gone out there and actually done the work. And until that happens, man, I just don't have any sympathy for that call.
And I think the one most recently I can remember was the Deegan ODC that MC ran with the Deep Space Crocodiles guys. Yeah. And they were very public on Twitter about hosting it and getting teams to sign up, and they had a pretty good showing. Yeah. Of teams willing, and that was paid entry and whatnot, and teams were there on the day, good to go. It was a lot of fun. Yeah. So I think you just got to reach out. And
I think they're a great example, and I think that a lot of tournament organizers can learn a lot from them. And honestly, I would like to see. I don't know what the budget is. All right, so forgive me for my ignorance, but I would love to see them go even further. To be honest, I think that what they do is great. I think their advertisement is great. I think their content is great. So I would love to see them put out even more if they can. All right, if they can't, fair enough. And they're doing a whole bunch right now, and maybe I don't know if it's stated enough how important that is, but it is really important, and you guys are quite valuable to the scene. So,
shout out to MC.
Yep, indeed. Shout out to MC.
No, they're super good, and what they've done with the lands, the city rotation, I don't really know what they call it. It's really important as well. Like down here in South Australia, we won't get another land for God knows how long. And I remember when I was first getting into Counter-Strike, I think the whole reason my first team formed was because there was this local land. We didn't know what the hell we were doing.
Yeah.
But there was this local land that we found, and we were keen to give it a go. So we just formed a team and we went for it.
Come to WA as well, MC. All right? Listen. I need at least one tournament that I can not have to take a damn plane flight to get to.
Do you guys have a RF LAN or something
I
like
mean,
that?
we do, man. We do. But it's RF
See,
LAN.
we don't get any of that in South Australia. We get nothing. We are relying on people like NC just to get a go.
That's true. That's true. I guess maybe I should count my lucky stars, you know? It is the one lucky star, to be totally honest. And it's not exactly the brightest star of all time. But hey, you know what? It is what it is. And I guess you don't bite the hand that feeds you. Those guys do good work. I don't know what I'm talking about. Shout out to RF LAN. Anyway, I think that's probably going to be it for this episode because we are past the hour mark now. So it's probably time to wrap it up. So I obviously thank you for coming on, Luke. Yeah. It's been a pleasure, man.
Thanks for having me. I enjoy watching all your videos and stuff as well. It's good content. We need more people doing stuff like this.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that one. You know, you do your best. It's more difficult than what you think to get these interviews. So, yeah. Thank you for coming on.
Make a suggestion for the next one?
Yeah, go on then.
Get the Void from Ground Zero.
Oh, brilliant. All right.
Interesting stories, that one.
I'll chuck him a message then, eh? Void, I'm coming for you. I'm coming for you, Void. All right. Okay. See you guys later. I'll catch you on the next one, probably next week. We'll see what happens. All right. Peace out, guys.